Jason, can you help the normal American understand why there's so many attacks in the Red Sea on our shipping when we do have this big, powerful Navy? Everyone talks about it with all these fancy aircraft carriers and all these things. And we have a bunch of pirate dorks. The Houthis are somehow crippling shipping. How can that happen? How can a bunch of dirt-worshipping losers stop America's shipping when we have this great Navy? What are they doing?
Well, this is a fascinating story. We've seen this play before. Back in the 1980s, there was what was called the tanker war when Iran and Iraq were at war with each other, and Iran started shooting tankers with missiles, Chinese silkworm missiles, by the way. And of course, the Iraqis responded. The United States had to go into Operation Praying Mantis, to make its statement and protect that ship, protect those ships for commerce. We're back at that same place. The Houthis, who are a non-state actor, are getting technology transfer, we believe, and this is almost obvious, from Iran. Iran is getting technology transfer from China. So what you're seeing is not necessarily the Houthi rebels taking advantage of the United States or other nations in this commerce zone, but what you're seeing are near-peer rivals like China and Iran establishing what are essentially proxy wars. They get away with it. They can create havoc, and one of the main efforts, I would suggest, is not looking at the operations themselves, a missile hitting a ship, but rather looking at the logistics, the supply chain, the economy. This is about warfare, but it's not the kind of warfare generals and soldiers 11 Bravos think about. It's the kind of warfare nation states think about. How do we control the influence of your supply chain, choke off your food? That's what I believe is at work here.
How can they choke off things like our food when we are such an agriculture nation? Does it make sense to normal people? Normal people look at, the Midwest and it's all cornfields and wheat fields. How can these people affect us?
Well, our supply chains are tied so together internationally that when you talk about things like oil pricing or commodities or goods that are shipped internationally, whether it's from exports or imports, it's all tied in together. So again, I'll take us back to the pandemic when we saw container ships stacked at ports that either had to get diverted or couldn't get their goods unloaded, couldn't get their containers onto trucks or onto rails. That meant there was a lack of supply chain in the market. So all of those things work together to either depress or make our economy prosperous. And so when you start to tweak those things, it's like a spider's web. You pull on one web of this thing and the other things feel it. So supply chains are all tied together. So yes, we can produce food, but we rely on a lot of other things in our commodities supply chain, in our domestic goods supply chain, for the economy to have a robust health. That's why we see inflation where it is, and that's why it hurts on our wallets. So even the price of goods goes up, because think about one thing, Jesse. We might be able to manufacture or have goods somewhere, food in the Midwest, but then we have to ship them. And when your shipping is all a mess, whether the trucks aren't there, the boats aren't there, or the railways are clogged up, you still have a problem getting food and distributing it out to the communities. That's why it's all kind of linked together. China knows this. By the way, so should the United States.